You know, being in business it's a challenge. There's always challenges. There's always new things to learn. I guess the best thing that I can tell you is never stop learning. Never, ever stop learning.
You're listening to the Limitless Leadership Podcast, the podcast designed to help automotive repair shops learn how to lead, coach, train, and manage their team better by sharing proven techniques and thought-provoking interviews from industry leaders. Are you ready to transform your leadership skills by tapping into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results? Let's get ready for liftoff. It's time to go from great to greater. Here's today's episode.
All right, leaders, whether you're running a shop, leading a team, or leveling up in your career, you know details matter. And if you're like me, that includes keeping your beard on point. That's why I trust the Bearded Brotherhood. Their beard oils, beard balms, and mustache waxes, among other, are made with all natural ingredients, no junk, no shortcuts, just top-tier quality that keeps my beard looking sharp and feeling great. And let's talk scents. Whether it's their best-selling Woodsman or my personal favorite, Lone Stranger, the Bearded Brotherhood keeps me smelling fresh and my beard stays soft all day. If you take your beard game seriously, this is the stuff that you need. And because you're part of the Limitless Leadership podcast family, I've got a deal for you. Just visit thebeardedbrotherhood.co/lead15 to grab your favorite products and get 15% off in the process. Because a great leader deserves a great beard. Now, back to today's episode. Before we get started, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things you need to on social media. Go to our YouTube channel at The Bearded Leader and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. We got a great guest today, a guest who's going to talk about an incredible event coming up in a matter of weeks in Phoenix. And our guest today is David Martin. David, thanks for joining us.
Hey, great to see you, Josh. How's everything going your way?
It's going great. I mean, I'm in Houston, so I'm used to the hot weather. I'm looking forward to going to more hot weather in Phoenix here in a few weeks at the Sunrise Training and Expo. We're excited to learn more about this. I'm really excited for the audience to hear about Sunrise. And so before we get into Sunrise, go ahead and share with the audience who you are, what you do, how you do it, all the things we need to know about Mr. David Martin.
Well, I'm a second generation owner. My father started in a Chevron full service gas station back in the day in 1971. And I worked for him from 10 years old until now. 20 years ago, I bought him out actually, but I worked for my dad for a long, long time. And my dad believed when we were kids, there's 3 boys that he raised, and he believed that nothing good comes out of you getting anything for free. So we did chores around the shop. We started pulling weeds out of the planter, picking up cigarette butts, and then pumping gas, and moved my way on up to management. And I managed his shop for a long period of time. And we got out of the gas station business about 25 years ago. And so we run a full service automotive shop here in Phoenix, Arizona. And it's a great business, and really enjoy it.
Awesome. Well, so let's talk about Sunrise and really what Sunrise is, how we got here. I know it used to be the Southwest Automotive Professionals event, if correct me if I'm wrong, but now we're looking at an event called Sunrise Training and Expo. It's going to be in Phoenix this June 21st and 22nd. But what is it and why should we be coming?
Well, okay. So the original organization that we belonged to was ASA, Automotive Service Association. And they had what they called Sunrise every year. And we put the event together. It was a local event, and we go to Prescott, Arizona, and a little bit cooler weather. And then they went regional. And so we started what we call Southwest Professional Trade Alliance Professionals, Southwest Automotive Professionals is what it is. And so we started that, and we kept that training, that Sunrise training, and we still call it Sunrise to this day. But it's here in Chandler, Arizona at Wild Horse Pass, and it's actually on June 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And the training, it's more than training. And I know we're going to talk a lot about the training part of it, but I kind of want to get into letting you know that it is more than training. I take my team up there. I invite their families. We have a great time. It's a great team building event. And it gives them some family time. It gives them some training. And also there's an expo, and it's a great expo with a lot of specials and stuff that you can get from, for your shop, or the technicians can get for hand tools, and a lot of software stuff, a lot of technical stuff. But the training is great for management. It's great for technicians. It's great for service advisors. It's great for marketing. And this thing has just grown. It's morphed into something more than just training. And we really, really have a great time doing it. And if there's shops out there that are maybe having some struggles and having some hard times, I recommend they go. And I'll be honest with you, I get just as much out of going and hanging out with other shop owners that are in the same fire I am every day. We get an opportunity to sit down, have a few drinks, eat some food. We just be able to talk about what's going on in your shop, what's going on in their shop, and we help each other. And so there's a lot of camaraderie built there too. And that stuff has always been important to me. I'm a little older, and we've done that for years. We always have had meetings, and once a month we used to meet at somebody's shop and just go over things.
I think it's, so by the way, I'm going to say this. You said you're a little older. I'm going to say you're a little wiser, David. You're a little wiser.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You learned some things over the years. Something I really admire and appreciate about something you said is that you take your whole family there, and your whole team there and their families. And that's important, because there's a lot of shop owners out there who are listening, and they're thinking, hey, that'd be great if I could bring my whole team, but I can't afford to shut the shop down and take my team, or I can't afford to bring my whole team. And I'm going to ask to shift their perspective and say, you can't not afford it. Talk about the value of bringing your entire team, and not just the owner, or not just the service manager or a technician. Where's the value? Why should the entire team be coming to an event like this?
Well, you want everybody to be on the same page too, and you want them to basically, like the technical classes. I'll give you a classic example. One thing that's really great is my technicians, after they go to these classes, they will come back to the shop, and they'll talk about these things, and sometimes they'll have different perspectives on what the class was actually about, or maybe one guy got something different than the other guy, but then they share collaboratively, and what they're able to do is they're able to kind of get something more out of it than just what the teacher said. They kind of build upon that, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And it's really one thing about my technicians, and probably most technicians out there, they hate going to classes where it's basic, where, they teach you how to start the car, teach you how to, rack the car. My techs, there's classes for those technicians, the beginners. I get that, but you don't want to send your A tech to a beginner class. He's not going to like it. He's going to be bored out of his mind. So that's one thing about this, is that Diana has really put together a lot. There's some beginner classes, there's some middle classes, and then there's some advanced classes. And that's one of the things that's so hard to put together for any kind of training that, the parts stores can do. A lot of times they say, oh yeah, it's advanced training. And I send my guys there, and they're like, it was so basic. I mean, it was like plug it in, and it's, so you want to make sure that you're sending your guys to the right ones, because other than that, they're going to get a little bit turned off from it, and it's going to be harder to get them to go to the next one. So I always try to be really, really conscious of that, and make sure that I send them to the right classes. And this event kind of it's one size fits all, it's everything. There's so many different things to pick from, and you don't have to go to, the advanced. The A-techs don't have to go to the beginner classes, and the beginner guys don't have to go to the advanced classes, because it's just as bad. If you send a beginner to an advanced class, they're talking over his head, and he's going to get nothing from it. It's going to be harder for him to, and I won't say that he won't get nothing from it, but it's going to be harder for him to get something from it.
Of course. Well, you alluded to the importance of recognizing that it's not just about training. And while we know the training is great, the trainers that you're going to have there are fantastic. These are, industry leaders in the training world. But one thing that I hear pretty regularly from different attendees at different events is the power of networking and the power
Yeah.
of relationships and that camaraderie that you alluded to. Talk about the power of networking and what that can do for you present day, but also future with the relationships that you make at these events.
Well, and I've been going to these events for a long, long time, and I was able to meet some really quality shop owners. And there is, believe it or not, we get all the bad news and the bad, you know, publicity in the automotive industry. But I'm going to tell you my experience and being in this industry as long as I have, the majority of the shop owners out there are doing the right thing for the right reason, and they're really great shops. They really are. And when you network with those other shop owners, you learn about their shop, they learn about your shop. We're able to kind of, they might be doing something totally different than me, and I may be struggling with something. And I'm like, well, maybe I ought to try it your way and see if it works better. And a lot of times it digs me out of that hole that I'm in, because sometimes you get brain locked. You're in your four walls for a long period of time, and you start to look at the same thing all the time. And somebody comes walking in and goes, "Hey dude, just what about this?" And you're like, wow, I never thought of it. So we help each other out that way. And another thing too is in my general area here, probably I'll say in a 5 mile radius all the way around me, if my scan tool quits working and I'm working on a car, I can pick up the phone and call any one of them and ask them, "Hey, can I borrow your scan tool? Mine just took a dump and I need to get this car finished up." And every one of them will help me out, and I'll do the same for them. And that's the camaraderie part. And whenever you're not on an island by yourself, there's always help out there. And during the course of the year, we all get ourselves into some trouble, and sometimes we need a little bit of help. Somebody does maybe something a little bit different than us, and we maybe do something a little bit different than what they do. And if we can help each other out, we always do. And it's those relationships. It's no different than what we preach about our customers. Our job, whether we sell widgets or fix cars, we're building relationships. And that's what we're doing when we go to Sunrise. We're building relationships. And that's important to me, and it always has been. And I love the industry, so I love to learn more about it.
I think that's such an incredible mindset to have. There's a lot of shop owners who might be listening thinking, I don't feel comfortable being vulnerable or sharing or being transparent about my business and where I'm at in my business because maybe I'm not doing as well as I thought I could. But I know you're shaking your head, David, because you and I both agree this is it's an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. It's a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And ultimately, what we learn is that when we go to these events, everybody's having challenges, everybody's having struggles, everybody's winning, but also everyone is having these moments where we finally realize, oh yeah, I'm actually not on an island like I thought I was. And I really appreciate and admire the fact that you alluded to the importance of the same way we treat our guest as it's a relationship first. We know that the transaction is going to happen, but the transaction is a natural byproduct of serving that guest and taking care of that guest. And the same can be said in the industry where we're working with folks and meeting folks and networking with them. It's about relationships. And these are potentially lifelong relationships when you go to an event like this. Every event I go to, I see first-time attendees at this event or that event, and it's like their eyes are just wide open because they realize I finally found some folks who are going through the same thing I'm going through, and I'm not on an island anymore, which is a great feeling to have.
Well, something you kind of alluded to is that sometimes shop owners, they get in their own head that I'm their competition. And every time that I hear those words come out of anybody's mouth, I take them to the sidewalk and I go, you see all these cars going by. And in Phoenix, trust me, there's a lot of cars going by. Probably in a minute, you probably could count maybe 100 cars every minute. And so I always tell them, I say, can you fix all these cars? And they go, no, neither can I. We're not our competition. The only competition that you got in your shop is you. That's really what it boils down to. You gotta get up every day and put your big boy pants on, and you gotta look in the mirror and know that, hey, you don't know everything. I don't know everything. And it doesn't matter how long you do it. Things change. I learn a lot of stuff from the younger guys. I when I go to this thing, sometimes guys only been in the business for 5 years or maybe even 4. And I ask them questions, and I learned things from them. From a technology standpoint, these guys are unbelievable. They're
Oh, yeah.
they're on it, and there's sometimes where I'm doing stuff the old fashioned way, and it's kind of I'm beating my head against a wall, and they'll tell me, oh, I just do it this way, and it takes me like 5-10 minutes, and it takes me an hour, and I'm like shaking my head. I'm going, how dumb am I? But things just change, and they grew up in a different era, and they're they learn differently, I guess. But no, I learned just as much from the younger guys as I do for the guys that have been in the business longer than me.
You're really speaking to the concept of how everyone is a leader. And I personally believe that everyone is a leader, because leadership is not a title, but leadership is a skill set that can be practiced and developed over time. And each person is a leader because they have a perspective that no one else has because of their upbringing, their life experiences. They have a perspective that makes them one of one, which makes them influential, and subsequently they can affect change. And I believe that anyone who's a change agent is a leader. I'm sharing all that to say this. Of course, this is a leadership podcast. I'm curious, David, if I were to ask you, what does leadership mean to you? How would you answer that question?
Well, I would say God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen more than you talk. That's the best leadership advice I can give you, because the thing of it is you got to know what's going on in your 4 walls, and what's going on in your shop, what's going on in your all four walls. You want to make sure that you listen, you pay attention, you let everybody know that they have a voice, and every meeting I go into, I tell everybody there, I said, I may have a little more experience than you guys do. And I said, if I know more than you, it's only for one reason, because I've screwed up way more than you have. And I've learned from that. And that's just back to experience. Some of the guys are a little younger and they haven't made all the mistakes that I've made. So I try not to let them do that. But I'm not any smarter than anybody in this building. I'm just here to try to facilitate it and try to get everybody on the same page to make sure we're pulling the rope the same way.
Yeah, love that. Love that analogy. And it's, you're right. I mean, it's kind of hard to learn if you're constantly talking and not just shutting up and listening,
Yeah.
Well, David, let's get back to a question about the actual event itself. I'm curious, what is different about this event in comparison to the rest? And this is not about competition. We've already talked about this. This is about collaboration, not competition. But I am curious, if I've been to a number of training events across the country, but I haven't been to Sunrise, what can I expect here that I haven't seen elsewhere?
Well, I think the biggest thing is like in Arizona, we don't have anything really like that here that has all of those elements together. The training, the expo, the training with the management, technician, service advisors, marketing. Usually they're spotty. There's like one class here, one class there. And this is like a 3-day training. Most of the trainings that you go to is after work one night, might be 2 nights after work, maybe, 4 hours here, 4 hours there. And this event to me is more about, it's a relaxed atmosphere. It's more of a learning atmosphere. Okay. And you have some time to kind of digest what you're learning. Like some of the night classes and stuff, you work all day and you go to the night classes. It's tougher. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about that, because training is great no matter where you get it from. If it's the right training, it's great. But this is just more of a let's all get together. Let's all learn together. Let's all share together. And let's bring our families along the way.
Yeah. And that's one difference that I have immediately noticed, is just the encouragement of bringing the families. I love the fact that you're encouraging not only the entire team to come out, because it is designed for anyone and everyone, including all skill levels too, but also, hey, bring your families along with you and turn this into a little vacation for them as well. I mean, that's something that I think would be a fantastic opportunity for anyone who's coming out. I'll ask you, I'm going to be a trainer there, but I'm a small fish in a massive pond. I'm going to put you on the spot, David. Do you know of other trainers that are going to be out there? Let's talk about the big fishes in this industry. Who's going to be out there, and what can I expect from those classes?
I tell you what, there's just a ton of them, and I don't have. I'm sorry, I don't have those in front of me. I wish I did.
Spot, so
right. But I will say this: trainingexpoaz.com. There's a whole list of them. And to tell you the truth, this podcast could go on for 3 hours if I was to read every one of them off to you, because there's just a ton of them. So, it'd be better if you would just go to trainingexpoaz.com and look at all the classes for yourself and just see what you think of them. And the names of the trainers are on there, and there's some heavy hitters on there too. Some guys that have been around a long time and really know what they're doing, just like you. You've been around a long time, you know what you're doing. And we want people that are really great teachers. They're really great teachers. And some people are really great teachers. I don't know if I am or not. Sometimes I don't know if I am or not. I bet
you are, David. I bet you
I try my best. I really do. But, I got too much old school in me. It's a little tougher, but back to what you said about the families, the thing of it is it's all about your culture. And, in the industry, in any job today, I mean, what do they talk about more than the job? They talk about the culture and the business and the culture, the environment. And being a trainer, what do you hear most of the time from technicians and service advisors and owners? You can pay them $1 million an hour if you want to, but the bottom line is they're not going to stay very long if your culture is really terrible.
That's right. Man, we know, as a leadership coach, something I share with a lot of shop owners is that first, it costs you 6 to 9 months of a team member's salary to replace them. But a lot of folks are having to be replaced because 70% of employees are disengaged at work. They're disengaged because they don't feel seen, they don't feel heard, they don't feel valued. And that really speaks to the culture or lack thereof within these organizations. And so I will say this, we're coming off the heels of attending the Tools Conference in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And so over the weekend, that's where I was at, and spoke with a lot of incredible industry leaders, and a number of them will be at Sunrise as well. And, what we see is that when you go to an event like this, you're meeting some incredible people who are phenomenal trainers, and you're getting incredible information to go back to your shop and start implementing it to really help change the culture. But prior to you and I going live on this episode, you talked about how implementation is one of the most challenging things. Speak to someone who's listening and thinking, I want to take my team to training, but they need to know that the knowledge that they gain is just information without application. So how can they apply it and implement it in their shop after training?
Well, one of the things you don't want to do is you don't want to come back to your shop after you go to these classes, because I used to do it. I would go to these leadership classes. I would go to these management classes, ownership classes, and they'd give you a 3-4 pages of things that, this is how you should do this. This is how you should do that. This is how you should do that. Well, you go back and you throw 15 things at your team and tell them, hey, we're going to change all this stuff. Well, let me tell you something. It doesn't work. Don't do it. I highly recommend don't do it. What you do is what I found the best way to implement it is when you have your weekly meetings, you go over one of them. You go over one of them and go, hey guys, this is what I learned at one of the classes I went to. I think it's a really great idea. I'm throwing it out there, and I want to know, what do you guys think is the best way to implement this? What is the best way to implement this thing? And one of the things, and I'll tell you this quick story that's kind of about implementation is that this was probably almost 10 years ago. I had a great team. I really had a great team, and especially in the shop. And these guys, they came to me and they go, hey, Dave, the shop is not efficient. And the reason it's not efficient is because we get too much stuff that doesn't belong there. I said, okay, guys, put your heads together. Tell me what the plan is. Bring it to me. I'll go over it and I'll throw my 2 cents into it, and we'll do it. Well, we did it. We put it together. They all agreed. Everybody was on board with it. We went ahead and did it. By the time we were done, there was so much pride and so much, these guys felt so good about themselves when they came into my shop. And they came in next to their toolbox and their shop. You could just tell they just a little pep in their step. They just felt so much better about being in the shop because they were frustrated. They were really frustrated. So a lot of times your teams will tell you that, hey, this is a frustration for me. Well, so we need to address those things. And then we need to implement some kind of a change, but you need to get the whole team involved in it. You cannot you can't go in there and just say, hey, today we're just going to do this. Tomorrow, because a lot of times things really look good on paper. Architects, or not architects, but builders, people that, will get a drawing of something and build something, they'll tell you, oh yeah, these guys think it's great. It looks great on paper, but to build it and to actually make it work, it doesn't work that way. So you have to have everybody involved, and you really have to have a great culture in order to really get things implemented. Other than that, you're really fighting a losing battle.
Every voice should be heard. Every opinion should matter. Every idea should be considered. I love the fact, I don't want to glaze over this. I love the fact that you talked about how you would come back from a training, which, by the way, I think that the 3 worst days in any advisor or technician or manager's life is when their owner comes back from training, because they know that they're going to try to have to implement all these things that they didn't even hear or don't really know the why behind it. And it can be, it's not sustainable. So I really admire the fact that you said, hey, what do you guys think we can do to implement this? Or how do you think we can implement this? So you're bringing an idea, and not all of the ideas, but one idea. You're bringing one thing to the table on a weekly basis. And then you're going to say, you tell me, what do you think we can do to make this work? And you're getting them involved. You're getting the buy-in. That's going to go a long way. And again, I don't want to glaze over this, because I think too many of us go to a training and we're the ones who make the decision, and we go back to the shop and tell people how it's going to be. But you're saying, no, you guys are the ones who are driving the mission towards the vision. You tell me how we're going to make this work. And you're getting them involved. And that is going to go a long way in the effectiveness of the implementation.
Oh, absolutely. Because I'm not here all the time. I'm doing other things. I'm doing a podcast right now, so yeah. I don't want to micromanage. I don't want to be on top of them. And I don't want to have to go out there every day and go, hey guys, this is what we talked about. This is what I want you to do. This is what I don't want to do that. I want them to be able to make decisions on their own. I want them to make changes on their own. But I want them to do it as a team. That's the only thing that I stress to all the guys here. I said, and I tell them this analogy all the time. I go, if you have a football team and half the team knows the play and the other half team doesn't know the play, how well do you think that play is going to be executed? It's not going to be executed very, very well, right? So I always tell them, hey, if we're going to make changes around here, we're all involved. Let's do it together. So that's the only rule.
I like that a lot. You alluded to you don't want to micromanage. I had a good friend of mine, send me a picture over the weekend. It's a sign, and it says, micromanagement is just a fancy way of saying I don't trust you. And I thought, how true is that? We can't help ourselves, and we're afraid to just let go and trust that our team is going to be empowered enough to make the right calls and do the right things. And ultimately, these trainings and these events like this, you're prepping your team for success. I mean, it's one thing for you to go and get training, but when you bring your entire team, you're preparing them for success. And ultimately, when the pressure's on, we don't rise to the occasion. We fall to our highest level of preparation. And this is something that's going to help that team be prepared. I'll ask you, David, earlier you mentioned one piece of advice, which is, God gave me one mouth and 2 ears. If he wanted to other ways, he would have switched it around, right? But I'll ask you, what is the greatest advice that you've ever received from a coach or a mentor?
The greatest advice that I've ever received in this industry was that what happened yesterday. You can't fix it. You can't change it. Let it go. Don't let yesterday build on today, and let today build on tomorrow, because that's a really rough life. You got to let it go. You got to let go what happened yesterday. That's really the best piece of advice. When you go home at night, you lay your head on that pillow, you wake up in the morning, whatever happened yesterday, you let it go.
So sounds great. I mean, it sounds like something that we both know it's easier said than done. I'll ask you, how do you let it go? How do you not let today affect tomorrow?
Well, the way I look at it now, and I never did, this was really hard. I had bad weeks, bad months, and that was horrible. I mean, it's stressful for you. It's stressful for your family. It's stressful for your team. It's just terrible. So I wake up in the morning after a bad day yesterday, and I just say, well, what can I do about yesterday? I can learn from it. I can't change it. I can't fix it. And if there's something that I can do to make sure it never happens again, I'm on that. We're going to do that. We're not going to let that happen again. But I can't fix what happened yesterday. All I can do is learn from it and make sure it never happens again. Those are the only two things that I have control over today. That's it.
So good. That's so
And
good.
so at that point, if I do those two things, then it's gone. It's done. We learn from it and we make sure it never happens again. We put something in, put a policy in place, put a procedure in place, whatever we have to do to keep that from happening again. We're definitely going to do it.
I like that a lot. I hear you really gravitating towards a solution-based thinking and not just beating yourself up over the problem itself, but rather focusing on the solution. I think is a strong words of wisdom to provide. So as we begin to wrap up this episode, I'm going to ask for additional words of wisdom. David, you talked about trainingexpoaz.com. That's the site we can go to register for Sunrise. Any parting words for our listening audience?
Well, being in business it's a challenge. There's always challenges. There's always new things to learn. I guess the best thing that I can tell you is never stop learning. Never, ever stop learning. As we get older, sometimes we think, you know what, I don't want to learn this new technology. I don't want to learn this. I don't want to learn that. So we kind of shy away from it because it's so foreign to us because we never grew up with it. So it's, and you get my 4-year-old granddaughter and she, she can figure it out. So it's kind of comical, and I'm sitting here, I'm struggling with this thing. I hand it to her and she figures it. So never stop learning. I guess that's probably the best advice that I can ever give you. And as an owner, you really, things do change. Things, even though you've done it that way for 20 years, doesn't mean you can't do it differently and more efficient and better. And by listening to somebody that maybe is a little younger, maybe has that technology experience or maybe has a different experience than you have.
Love that. Never stop learning. You have an opportunity to learn in a few weeks in Phoenix, Arizona, or in Chandler rather, trainingexpoaz.com. So we hope to see all of you there. And thank you for tuning in. Every episode, we look to transform our leadership skills by tapping into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results. So, David, thanks again for being here, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Of course. And looking forward to meeting you in person here in a few weeks as well. So I'll be there in just a few weeks. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in yet again. Don't forget to smile today. Tell your loved ones how much they mean to you. I'm Josh Parnell, reminding you to keep leading well.